we're gonna do our best to explain this game. There's a lot of stuff to explain mechanically. We'll do our best and try not to talk so fast that we spit on ourselves. But try to bear with us. Yeah, sure. All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Epic. All right, cool.
Okay, so this is Celeste, side-scrolling platformer. Two things you're going to see right now in this first prologue thing is he's jumping and he's climbing. Good start. There's pretty much 3 major mechanics: jump, climb, and dash. Climb or grab allows you to cling to walls, and jumping, as you see him doing right now, every time he jumps, he saves a couple frames. I think 2 frames. And starting in the next chapter, he's going to get his dash, which is the core mechanic. And the dash combines with, it augments your momentum in a direction of your choice in the 8 cardinal directions. And it interacts with jump and climb in interesting ways. For example, when he dashes along the ground and jumps, we call that a dash jump. He can also do a crouched dash into the ground and jump, which gives him a lower arc, and we call that a hyper, or a wave dash sometimes, if it starts from the air. He can also dash upwards along a wall and jump, which will give him like a hyper-like momentum off the wall, and I like to call it an up hyper. Some people call it a wall bounce, whatever. Another thing you might see him do is graze against corners and get a bunch of speed. If you hit a corner with enough momentum and you hold grab and jump, we call that a corner boost. That's most of the major mechanics. Now that half of this level is done. He's getting all the berries. What he also has to get, though, is he has to get 4 crystal hearts, and here's one of them. It's in this room, and he has to input a code by dashing in certain directions in sequence. And then once he does that, the heart will appear after he's input the code correctly. And he retries there to skip the animation. So that's the first heart. He needs 4 of those because the last chapter that we run in this category, called Core, has 5 red berries in it, and you need 4 hearts to get it, so that's one of them. The next one we'll get is in chapter 3, which is Resort. But yeah, this is City. Even though it's level 1, I think this level is pretty difficult. And there have been a couple mistakes, but overall it's going alright. Nothing to be concerned about. The screen's pretty difficult. But
you've noticed that there are like winged berries, like you saw that winged berry earlier in the star checkpoint. So there are 3 different types of berry category, or in the game, but in this category we have to click all of them. So seeded berries and winged berries. So winged berries, you can't dash in the room before picking it up. So when you see him dash, like the berry will like try to fly away, but we have routes in order to catch the berries before they fly away. You'll see some of that later, mostly Resort Summit. And then seeded berries, we'll explain that in chapter 2, but you'll see where he enters the room and there's seeds, and you have to click all the seeds in order to unlock the berry.
So one important thing is how berries collect. You might notice that when he touches the berry, they don't collect right away. They'll follow him for a little bit. And in general, berries will collect if you're considered in like a safe area. There's certain parts of the game that are coded or programmed to be not safe, where you can't collect a berry under any circumstances. But if you're in a safe area and you're standing on safe ground for 9 frames, you will collect the berry.
Yep. Which
means there's a lot of like risk reward factor into this category, because you have to route like when and how to collect berries. Because if a berry's following him and he dies, the berry will go back to its position. So that could cost you a couple seconds having to go back and get it, or in many cases, it's impossible to backtrack back to where the berry is, and you have to come back into the level after you've completed it, and that costs a ton of time. And hopefully that doesn't happen. Hasn't happened yet, so we're doing pretty good.
Speaking of that mechanic, we're about to like see. So this level has like a massive berry train in start and intervention. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see some good 1-up or 5k action.
Starting right about now, the berries pretty much will be following him for almost the rest of the level. But he might route in some collecting for a marathon. It's up to him. That was an accident, I think. But he got 2 of them.
Yeah.
What else? I feel like there was something we forgot. But
talk about the 6B, 6A.
no, let's not talk about 6B yet.
Okay.
Extended hypers, that's it. So you'll notice you only get 1 dash. When you use your dash, Madeline's hair turns blue, and then you can't dash again. But if you dash along the ground and you jump within a certain window, it's like 5 frames, then you will get your dash jump or your hyper momentum, and you will retain your dash. And we call those extended hypers. And they're often easier to do with wave dashes, or often wave dashes give you better positioning. There's also a mechanic called a reverse, where just because you're dashing in one direction doesn't mean you're going to jump in that direction. Like right here, we're going to see a reverse wave dash where he dashes in that corner, but he goes off to the left. And that's done by dashing down right, but then holding left for when you do the jump. Okay, I think that's all the main mechanics. We kind of missed the whole, like, everything that makes Old Sight Old Sight. This level's called Old Sight, by the way. These dream blocks, these little black things, galaxy rectangles, if you watch Chai Kitty stream enough, you dash through them, and when you come out on the other end, you can jump out of them. You still have your dash when you come out of them. There's all kinds of fun stuff you can do. You can hyper out of them, actually.
Yeah.
Because the game has what we call coyote time, where after you've left a ground or platform, you still have 5 frames where you're allowed to jump. And since like the end of a dream block, I guess, is considered ground, you have a small window to actually jump and therefore hyper or dash jump or do whatever.
We abuse that mechanic a lot in these berries, seated and some of just like the general rooms. We use a lot. You can also do some really cool stuff with them.
Yeah. But we won't be seeing them again until Summit, after this level, which is over in about 7 seconds. These first 2 levels aren't super crazy. Resort is where we're going to have to start actually talking about the level, because there's a lot of interesting mechanics. What sets ARB apart from other categories, I think, is I think it's more movement-based than it is
Definitely.
like strat-based. I mean, there's a ton of strats, and there's a ton of setups in this category, but most of the strats are just like tiny optimizations of what has already existed forever, rather than just like revolutionizing our screen, the way a screen is done, and just saving 6 seconds in most cases. But anyway, here's Resort. This screen is where cycles start to play a part. Here's the first room with the cycle. We get this berry for free. You actually get that berry in the any % category. There's only a couple of those. And then we go off over here to the left. There's a couple berries over here. One mechanic that we'll see a couple times in this category is what we call a demo dash. And it's a crouch dash, as I mentioned earlier, but it's with a horizontal movement instead of diagonal. And it allows you to do a couple things. One, it allows you to squeeze through hurt boxes that looks like it should be impossible to pass through, but it allows you to just barely squeeze in between them. And it also allows you to get hyper momentum, even with a forward dash instead of the usual diagonal one. We'll see the first like obvious demo dash. It's called demo dash because it was first shared by a person named Demo Jameson, and he found a really big skip in the any % route, and we just call that demo dash. It's actually in ARB 2, but it's not for a little bit later. Resort's going pretty well. Resort start is honestly one of the hardest checkpoints in the whole category. It's gone pretty well. Okay, here's an exciting strat if he gets it. Okay, missing one. We call this Yasig, spelled Jasig, where he does like a truncated like sequence of events. If he got it, he would have pretty much hopped over this entire room, and he would have skipped like all that going under and going around and getting the berry and whatnot. It's really hard, but it saves a ton of time.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate that he didn't get it, but it's okay. You don't need it to have a good resort. This resort's fine. Okay, so that was a start. That was, in my opinion, the hardest checkpoint. Okay, good retry. He's trying to skip a cutscene here. That's why he just spontaneously exploded next to Mr. Oshiro, who's the narrative lead in this chapter. He's the keeper of the of the resort, but it's a mess. And Madeline doesn't really want anything to do with it. She just wants to leave, but she kind of gets roped. Okay, here's a demo dash. That right there, you saw Madeline squeeze like what looks like through a bunch of dust bunnies, but it wasn't actually. He didn't actually go through. He just got in between two circular hitboxes. It's a lot easier to see if you show hitboxes, but we can't do that right now because that is illegal.
No, we can talk about this heart.
Yes.
Or the huge miss route and the heart warp.
Right. So I mentioned how we need to get 4 hearts for core. The second one's coming up here in a couple seconds. You get it by triggering the tiles button and then backtracking and coming up through here. And he goes all the way around and ignores the heart, then comes back to get it. So he can save and quit, which counts as a death. And when you die, it respawns you to the closest checkpoint to where you entered the screen, which is on the top part. So when you enter through that part of the screen and come down and die, it puts you on that side of the screen. And it skips like 2-3 whole rooms and saves a bunch of time.
Scott, if you don't do that, it's a really awkward movement.
Yeah.
With a weird way.
This is the books part of Huge Mess. It's a little bit awkward, but looks okay. And then after that, we just have the crates, which is the last section of Huge Mess. Other than this big hub room, which can be a huge pain in the neck. As you can see, he kind of stumbled a little bit there.
This is a pretty unique movement here, because Talos First wasn't really thought to be viable, but we've since known that it saves at least a second over the next optimal route.
Yeah,
and
it used to be that we came down here first.
Yeah.
This route that he's doing right now, we used to do that first, and then we did the towel section, and then we did the third section that you warp to. But it was found that this route saves like somewhere between 1 second and 2 seconds. Who really knows for sure, but it certainly saves time. Grabs the key, he unlocks that door, and then leaves because there's one last barrier down here.
The last barrier.
And then he comes back around, and when he goes back up, the door will already be open. This skips having to wait for the door to unlock, which is most of the time save of this route. When you do the other route, the movement in the hub in between the routes is a lot more like go around. I don't know, roundabout. that's so you lose a bunch of time, but in Tal's first route, there's a lot less hullabaloo. Okay, so now Buhbai's going to go down. He's going to go down through this room and get these 2 berries here. And then he's going to go back around to that room he was just in and get the berry that you might have seen. And normally, if you were playing the game, you would come all the way down here and get a key in that room and unlock that locked door you see over there. But as I mentioned earlier, this is the original demo dash right here. And it was found that it saves a little bit of time to go all the way around and basically do that screen twice and then do demo dash. It's a tad faster, somewhere between 1 and 2 seconds, who really knows, rather than getting the key.
Right now, Oshiro is very angry.
Yeah, this is
in the cutscenes. But
yeah, in the cutscene,
Madeline kind of, put a hole in his roof, so now we have to run.
Yeah. Okay, bye-bye. That one's not normally in the route, but...
Oh, okay.
We call that a swag demo, I guess, and then he just face plants into fuzz for no reason.
Never do it, no mic.
The demo dash, hardly even saves any time. It's just swagger, I guess. That's a good one. But this is the last screen. A lot of people are really afraid of this screen because it's really long and really tight, and deaths here are often really punishing. The death cycle's no good. Various reasons. for which you don't want a screen to go wrong. But that's the end of that.
He's got it.
Out of here, 1301. Not bad, not bad. We could pull together a pretty good run with this. 9 deaths. A little bit above average, but that's okay.
Let's go. We got it. It's fine.
Next is Golden Ridge, which is what I like to call probably the hardest per minute of gameplay chapter. It's not as long.
Tight optimizations here.
Yeah, it's not as long as Resort or Temple or Summit, but like almost all of it is hard. We got a cool little trick here where he gains a whole bunch of speed with an Ultra Dash, which I realized we forgot to explain. Ultra Dash is not really super complicated. It's when you're dashing diagonally when you already have like a high speed from something, usually a hyper dash, and when you hit the ground, if you had enough height on the Ultra Dash, you get another speed boost when you jump, like a 20% speed boost or something like that, and it allows you to cover large distances in a short amount of time. And that room after the Scream with Grandma in it is one of the bigger examples of it. Okay, so this is really good so far.
Yeah.
This is a tight cycle right there, getting that berry without waiting for the wind to come back. But luckily he got it. It's also really punishing to miss it. That was Ridge start, and that checkpoint's over already. Like I said, this chapter is really, really fast, but it is really hard.
Yeah, Shrine. You got Shrine now?
Yeah.
Collecting in any percent, you would usually, this would be like a 19-20 second segment where you just like skip all of this nonsense and like leave.
Yeah,
but
you just go
now
to that
we have
top
to
right
collect all
exit.
these.
Yeah, you just go to that top right exit in the hub room and then you're done. But he has to go all the way around, basically in a clockwise motion, I think, before he goes all the way up to the top right and does it normally. Now, our third Crystal Heart is in this section, in the Shrine section, and it's got a really neat trick where normally you would do... Oh, don't lose this berry. Bye. Good job. Normally, you would use what you might recognize as a white block from Super Mario Bros. 3. And if you are familiar with Super Mario Bros. 3, there's the block you'll connect to it. You would know that if you hold down on it for a couple seconds, you would phase through it and can walk around on the background. But in ARB, we can do this really precise up hyper off of that wall right there and kick off the corner on the way up. Nice. And then smash into the heart from above. And that saves a couple of seconds. I think like 5 seconds if you do it perfect on the first try. He got it on the second try, so that's still worth it. And then our next big trick in this category is what we call Ceiling Pop, where normally you ride like a long auto-scroller block to go all the way across this, but you can set up a little jut into a corner in a ceiling, and it kind of jiggles your momentum, and it's just enough for you to dash diagonally and get into that little corridor and climb up.
It's like only for like task only stuff, but that ledge, like if you jump into it, you can reset your Y position to be able to ceiling pop consistently.
Yeah, it's really consistent getting the ceiling pop itself. The hard part's the dash at the end, which is usually only a 2-frame window.
Yeah.
But that was Shrine. Shrine was over when he did the ceiling pop technique, and now we're in Old Trail, which is probably the only somewhat reasonable difficulty-wise checkpoint. Although he's going to make a couple attempts at one of the hardest strats in the game.
It's coming up.
Yeah, this is what we call the second block list, because this is the second big room with a block. And if he gets really good speed, he can get an ultra and he bunny hops, and he can squeeze in between that little space in between that spike block and go all the way over to the right and climb up the wall. It's really hard, but it saves a ton of time. Pretty much nobody goes for it in full game runs. You see it in the IL, but even then, like only a couple people have bothered to do the IL, which stands for individual level, with that technique. It's really hard and really inconsistent.
It's a little bit unfortunate that he missed it, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's alright. It's not a big deal. This is still a pretty good.
A lot of cool stuff coming our way.
We're entering the last checkpoint here, called Cliff Face. First thing he has to do is go all the way up to this corner, up here, and use a bunch of auto-scrollers, and this room's kind of slow and boring. But after that, it gets really exciting. This whole checkpoint, starting from now on, there's 4 berries, and it's barely slower than normal any percent. It's like
a really fluid section.
It's like 3 or 4 seconds slower than normal any percent if you do all the fastest strats. And like right here, we're probably gonna see some wicked ultra speed if he doesn't mess it up like that. But that's okay. It turned out okay because he did. Normally, when you mess that up, you die. So it was nice that he didn't die.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 berries left. One up here, hidden in this little nook. He's getting like all the hard stuff really well in this ridge. Yeah. This ridge is good. It's unfortunate that he lost a bunch of time on the second block list. Otherwise, this would have been like a perfectly like
you could have been fine, yeah,
doable ridge, even for like a PB attempt. Yeah, 516.
Yeah, 516 with 3 blockless fails.
Yeah, wow. And some other mess ups. So that's chapter 4. That's 3 of our 4 crystal hearts. The next one we're going to get is in chapter 6. Or not, but yes. We'll touch on that later.
So 5A. No, everyone that runs any percent has ditched this level since 5B is faster. We'll talk about that later. But you're going to see some really cool stuff. There's so many berries in this level, so many strats. There's a lot of cool things you could do here.
Yeah, most people say this is the most fun level to watch in pretty much any category. And as Coral said, you don't see this level too much in any percent because people just do the B-side. We don't have that luxury because we need all red berries, hence the name all red berries category. There's just a lot, and you also explore just a lot of rooms. Even if 5A were in any percent, you wouldn't be seeing, you know, any of this. But it's nice that we get to show off all these rooms. And like most of these strats, like they're not like crazy skips or anything. It's just really like hyper optimized movement. That's why I think it makes it really fun to watch. So far it's going really well. I can tell by the timer in the top left corner.
There's someone out of there.
Here comes some really cool movement. These like 4 screens in a row are really sick.
Oh yeah.
If you've played this parts casually, but you haven't seen the speedrun, this would look pretty insane. And that part right there, where he doesn't ride
oh my god, he's nice.
He doesn't ride the bubble. It saves like a 1/10 of a second. but it's really cool looking.
Oh, this fast cycle, it's fine. You'll see Bubs, whenever he dies in a room or doesn't get the cycle he wants, he has to leave the room and come back. That's how this game works on a cycle. Like each room, coming into each room, the cycle's the same.
I've never seen that.
Oh, what? Really? He died?
Anyways,
idea. Yeah, that's how cycles work. Global cycles are in farewell, which we do not play.
Yeah, we don't play that level. I'm still laughing about that. That's a new one. Alright, so that's Temple start. He had a really good start to that.
Yeah.
A little bit of shakiness towards the back half, but I can hardly even blame him for that last one. But it's okay. Okay, so that was start, and now we're entering the depth checkpoint. There's like 2 major hub rooms here, and we pretty much gotta circle around all of them and get the handful of berries around each. You got 1, and dude, we never explained Archie, but
oh yeah,
we messed up. He doesn't even do it here, but it's okay. He does an Archie tech later in this checkpoint. If you crouch into a bubble, these bubbles you've seen, it raises the hitbox by 2 pixels, which is normally not a big deal. The strat sucks, by the way. Normally not a big deal, but in some cases it allows you to accomplish things that weren't actually intended or otherwise wouldn't be possible. And I'll explain that. We called it Archie because the guy who discovered the tech, his name is Phoenix, and there's a pet bird out there named Archie, of whom he is very fond. So he named this random tech after him.
Shout out to Archie.
Yeah, shout out to Archie. Here's the seeded berry where he got all the...
nice. He gets the fast. He gets the super fast one.
Yeah, that strat is really annoying. It's really hard to dash upright and cling to a wall on the left. It's normally not how momentum works, but you can make it work. Depths is going really well so far.
Mm-hmm. cool reverse wave dash and get pushed by the block.
Uh-huh.
These last two berries aren't. They're pretty chill.
Yeah, most of the rest of Depths is pretty chill. He's just gonna have one more berry here, and then like a couple of long, like almost auto-scrollery rooms. Here comes the archery room. He's gonna crouch into the bubble, and it's gonna be able to. That's just enough room for him to dash up there and grab the ledge, and go all the way around there. That part right there is normally a shortcut or a secret that you would use to skip using or even getting a key altogether. If you wanted the crystal heart in this level, you'd get the key anyway, and you would go down here instead of up and use it there. But normally when you play the level, you would get the key and you would use it in that room where Buhbai did that little skip dash.
Yeah.
So this is the last like low octane room, where he
then...
drives the Seeker around, and then we have Unraveling, which can be either really nice or really bad, depending on...
The last 3 checkpoints of this are super hard, but super cool.
Yeah,
this is
they're
where it
really
ramps
hard.
up.
And there's a lot of combining of the mechanics and really tight windows to hit here. A lot of corner boosts, a lot of ultra dashes, a lot of barely hitting buttons.
Mm-hmm.
All that jazz. Corner boosting upstairs.
Alternate route for berries.
Mm-hmm. There's only one berry in this section. It's right here. And good, he gets the Seeker to behave, so he saves like a second or so. Actually, I don't know how much that saves, but it's probably a little bit less than a second. But it's probably in the ballpark. So far, it's going really well. This checkpoint's notorious. You can make like a small mistake that doesn't even kill you, but still costs a bundle of time.
Yeah.
This is really fast so far, though. Yeah, that's pretty much, barring a catastrophe at the end here. That's a really, really, really good round.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
he gets the eye bop. That's a really tight bop.
Yeah, that was really fast and early. That was like a 54 Unraveling.
That's pretty good.
Normally, you're happy with like 57s there. Yeah, he's bringing this back. If only he didn't have those goofy deaths and start, this would actually be insane tempo. But yeah, I think he's got the marathon nerves out. Here comes another demo dash. This is really sick. This was found by Nero X2, where you do a hyper and you buffer the demo dash off the block, and you squeeze right in there. It's actually not that hard. As far as I know, all the demo dashes except for one is actually a 1 pixel window. But what makes them viable is the setups that put you in them.
Yeah.
So they might be 1 pixel, but they might have, a 5 or 6 or 8 frame window, depending on how it's done. There's one demo dash where where there was a gap made to be a little bigger on purpose by the dev team.
We'll see it quite soon.
Yeah, in the next level. Well, I guess technically 2 levels from now. Whatever.
No, yeah.
This is still really good, I think.
Yeah.
Why did I say that? That's okay though.
It's fine.
This is still pretty good. He's coming up on what a lot of people consider to be one of the hardest checkpoints in the game. And there's only one berry in it. But yeah, the Theo segment.
Theo, yes.
In the narrative, Theo's our little friend who we meet a couple of times in the mountain. And he's trapped in here in this little crystal. And we have to carry him around, lug him around to the end, because we can't leave him behind because he's our friend. And there's a lot of interesting things. I mentioned earlier how for an Ultra Dash, if you have enough height, you can get like the 20% speed boost. With Theo though, the way it works is you do the Ultra Dash into him, and that kind of cancels your dash state, but it still gives you the ultra speed. So you don't need the normal height requirement to get all the bonus speed. So you can see Buhbai fly crazy speed. Speaking of flying with crazy speed, he just completely zooms through that room. Let's see if he does fancy stuff in the last 2 screens here. It's really hard, and it doesn't save a lot of time.
Steel's been pretty good though. Maybe he might try to finish it up quick.
I think he can 1x. Can he get an 819?
Oh.
Show me an 819. Yeah! Woo!
Oh, he got it! Yes! The double ultra! Oh, let's fucking go.
Yeah, he wanted the 819. He got it.
Yep, throw him
So-
into that eyeball, and level's done. Let's go. Next
That's
level.
actually a really good temple, considering
Yeah.
especially considering when it happened. Okay, so we got 3 crystal hearts. We need a 4th. We're gonna get it here in reflection, but we're not gonna get it in this level. We're gonna get it in the B side, where he's gonna enter a hidden room and he's gonna get a cassette tape. And once he gets the cassette tape, he can exit this level and play the B side instead. And the reason we do that is, well, because it gets a heart. Also, it turns out that doing that normally, even disregarding the heart, is fast. And we have this luxury. We have the luxury of choice here in this level. Like, we could do the normal A side here, but we have the luxury of doing the B side because there's no red berries in reflection at all. Period.
Yeah.
So you can do A side or you can do the B side, but doing the B side is particularly good in categories that just need to unlock core because it gives us a heart. If you don't get this heart, you would only do old type. Also, this might be a really cool strat if he gets it. Yeah.
Oh,
We
let's
call that-
go.
We call that Revo's nonsense, where you do a reverse dash jump and then ultra dash on the ground, and you get a ton of speed in the cassette room, and you can basically fly over all of it.
Harder than it looks.
Yeah, it's both harder and easier than it looked. I'm certainly no good at it. I personally have a more sensible version of that
You would
strat.
just try to like dash jump off the Kevin and like just eat all your speed in the next room.
Yeah,
it's
that happens a
A
lot.
certain height.
Yeah, the height you need for that is fairly precise. But anyway, this is 6B, and it's everybody's favorite and least favorite chapter. There's, in general, mistakes in this level are really punishing, and good runs are known to die in this level. Even it's actually like one of the shortest levels. It's longer than the first 2, but it's shorter than everything else. Oh no, core shorter. But it's a pretty short level, and there's no berries or anything. You just you get to the end as fast as you can. But nonetheless, like this room, for example, if he were to die at the end of this, it would cost him like 25 seconds, which in a game where 0.3 seconds is insanely valuable, 25 is somewhat valuable as well. But that was a good start. Start is known to be not cooperative, insubordinate, as they say. But after that is, well, I don't even know the checkpoint names of this level, but it's but I call this Descent.
This one's Reflection, but like I don't know why we just call it Descent
Okay, cool.
or Ravine or
The level's
something
called
pit.
Reflection, but this checkpoint's also called Reflection, so
Yeah.
very, very good. I call it Descent because he's descending. There's some neat optimizations here. You might see some diagonal dashes like that one. Every diagonal dash you see saves about 1/3 of a second, and you can cram probably. I'm not going to count all of them, but you can probably cram 10 at least in here. Maybe.
This section is as hard as you make it. to
Yeah,
be.
it's a
You'll
really
lose ton
good
of time,
section,
though,
I
if you
think.
don't.
I think it's a good section. Like, a lot of people hate it because you're just falling the whole time, but it is as hard as you make it to be, and you get rewarded and punished
Oh, nice. You got the demo.
accordingly. And yes, he did get the demo dash there in that last descent room, and that's the dev intentional demo dash, where they purposely made that that gap between the hurt boxes a little bit bigger. Just because there's no real setup to that. There's like a
Yeah, you
vague
just
visual
fall
cue.
and try.
Yeah, it's a vague visual cue. So it's actually like no easier than any
Yep.
other demo dash, even though the pixel window is bigger, the frame window is probably the same size as most of the other ones. This room is scary because it has what we call feathered skip. There's a feather you see there towards the bottom that he might skip. He got the dash crystal, so he's not able to do it, but it's okay. He only loses a second. If you don't collect that 3rd dash crystal on the right, you can use it to go directly up and then hyper off of a platform and fall right into battling. It's a really cool strat, but it's okay that he didn't get it. I think this is a good 6B so far. I think
Yeah,
he
that's
got
still
once.
pretty solid.
I can tell you for sure when he enters the last checkpoint, which is right after this room.
Reprieve.
Yeah, reprieve,
Infamous.
which is really where all good runs go to die. this level in general, but yeah, this is a good 6B. He tried to go under the Kevin Blood there. He normally doesn't do that in runs, I think, but it's a fancy little strat. Saves about a second.
Again, abuses the coyote frames
Mm-hmm.
to get under.
And a little bit of ultra speed. Yeah, there's really cool strat, like right here. Oh, jeez, buhbai, come on, man. That was sad. He didn't even die. Go back. It's okay though. Sometimes in that screen you can get a lot of speed and fly right into battling, but somehow he didn't die, which is actually more impressive now that I think about it. This screen is really scary. It's particularly precise in like 3 different spots, and murks you for like 15 seconds everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, not what you want to see, but it's okay. The rest of his 6B is fine, so he's probably not that upset about it.
Yeah.
Because this level can go really poorly. And it only went somewhat poorly here. This screen is really scary and really long, and the next screen is the last screen, the one with the actual heart. When you collect the heart, the level's over.
Okay.
And the B-sides. And if he's good here, he might get a really cool cycle here, where he gets a boost off this block as it's disappearing. Nice. And then he can demo
Nice.
that. Oh, you can squeeze.
Oh.
You can squeeze through the
Oh,
block
no.
and the spikes there, and land and get on the other side and hit the heart. But that was sad. That went from really okay. So he could have gotten like a 421 if he had a good reprieve, maybe even faster because he tried to go under the Kevin in the first screen. He ended up with a 448
Yeah.
for like, so he lost almost 30 seconds in a 1 minute long checkpoint, and that's just like standard. I hate to say it, that checkpoint is so hard. But it's over now, and we're doing
Then we
Summit
get to play Summit.
Yeah, right.
Let's go.
Which is where the rest of the run's
so
going.
hard. It's so long.
So the first thing we got to
11,
talk
12
about,
minutes of hard runs.
the first thing we got to talk about in Summit, other than this demo dash that he's about to do, is that he has 2 dashes now. You'll notice his hair is pink. When he dashes once, it turns red, and he'll still have 1 dash. And when he turns blue, he doesn't have any dashes left. Anything that would refresh your dash in this level would refresh it to 2 instead of 1. Whatever, it just sets you to the maximum. And that's because at the end of Chapter 6, I guess I shouldn't spoil the story. Something happens in Chapter 6.
Something
and
happens.
You have 2 dashes instead. But yeah, Summit is a colossal and scary level with a total 47 red berries to collect. A good run of this level is 11 minutes and like a half, like 11 and a half minutes. And it is hard all the way through. There's no easy checkpoints, and it's scary, and this is like towards the end of the run, and you got to learn to deal with some emotional turmoil if you're going to run this category in this level in this category.
This is really 6B into 7 berry into 7A is just the true combo. It's
yeah, and then it's not even over.
Tests you.
But
It's not over. You still have. Oh.
I still think this run is somewhat good.
Yeah.
Like 6B was like not exactly what you're looking for, but it was actually like fine, especially for a marathon run.
Yeah. He got a good tape.
Right. Okay, you didn't have to retry there, Bubs. You fool!
You can save that, man.
Bye-bye, stop. Just jump. Just jump. But okay, you figured it out.
All
Wheels
right,
are
cool.
turning.
All right.
Wheels are
All
turning.
right.
Alright, you got pranked. That's okay though. And that's what I mean. Like none of these checkpoints, none of these don't. Oh my god, Bubs. None of these screens, none of these checkpoints are easy, and just so fast, just like that.
Yeah, it's.
He's lost like almost 30 seconds, but it's still good because
It's still fine.
This level is so like huge and difficult that you expect to absolutely tank a bunch of time.
Yeah.
So despite all this nonsense, he could still finish this level like under 12 minutes, which is, you know, almost insults me as somebody who's gotten my hiney kicked in the air 1 or 2 too many times historically. But whatever, 2 checkpoints down, like 4 to go.
Ours is
5. But yeah, Now, most of these strats are like very hard and very tight. Like this one, you have a very small pixel window to get over the spikes. This one, you have a small pixel window to get a good corners here, which gives you good like dream block speed. Now, like the theme of this level, every level like kind of has like its own different theme as far as like mechanics go. Like you saw these dream blocks in Chapter 2. You saw the dust bunnies in Chapter 3, clouds and bubbles in 4. You know, dash blocks and such in Chapter 5. And we see those make a return in Summit because you're climbing, you know, the summit, and all the mechanics make a return. So pretty much most of the checkpoints show a return of mechanics in past levels. And he's doing good. He's doing good.
He's bringing
so
this back
far
with the 1K. This 1K is not too bad. Let's see if
Unless
he can
they're there at
do
the
the
top.
same. So in this level, like we said that every checkpoint is hard, but 1500 and 2500 are particularly like just really important to nail. Otherwise, your run might end.
Yeah, there's a lot of scary stuff.
There's
A lot
a
of
ton
really
of
tight
scary
cycles.
stuff here.
And a lot of just like random stuff that's just like when you're slightly off the mark on your precision, you just get slightly wrong speed and you just hit a spike or a dust bunny and you're dead. Now, one of the biggest rooms is this big room. One of the most important rooms is this big room coming up right now. This is a really tight cycle right here with a reverse demo hyper into an ultra here. It gives you just enough time to go over that dust bunny and beat that dust bunny and go over this dust bunny. And he nails it. Perfect. Demo dash in the next screen. Okay, he's mad. He's mad.
Oh.
He's mad. He's mad after that. Okay. I was just gonna say he's mad after that 500. He wants good times now. Yeah, right. Okay, he's fine.
It's fine. Those were like the two. That section right there is jam packed, and then this section is not as hard, but still can, you know, catch you.
Goes in a little hidden room here. We call this Frank or Z room because the dust bunny stuff is shaped like a dog. Rest in peace.
We'll see him hyper for the wing, get it right before it flies away.
Yup. So whenever you dash with a wingberry, I don't think we explained this super particularly. It doesn't instantly disintegrate. It just starts to fly upwards. And like the intended puzzle for that room is it starts at the bottom and you dash at the top and it flies into you.
Yeah.
And his dash placement there is optimized so that he can get there as soon as the berry is there, which wastes the least amount of time. All right, so 1500's done. That was pretty good, except for one pretty cheap death. Now it's 2,000 meters. There's a couple neat strats here. Namely, the Autoscroller Skip right here. This isn't any percent too, but we do it in hard because it's fast and there's no berries on the screen. This next screen is, I think, what most people consider to be casually the hardest berry.
Oh, this Autoscroller is...
What are you doing, Buhbai?
Oh, Buhbai.
He's just trying to show up. But yeah, this is a really weird berry to get, especially casually.
Yeah. Nice. We're coming up on here on our last winged, I think, and our last seated. Does not get it.
Is it the last winged? Oh, so it is.
Yeah, no. Oh wow, it ends? No. I shouldn't think about it though. Like,
now this is the
stop here.
There, he gets the last seated berry. He's gonna do a demo dash here. This one's pretty easy. That one, if you just buffer the dash, like if you press dash a couple frames before Madeline is actually able to dash, she will dash on the first frame, and she'll just go through the spikes there every time. But yeah, this is coming together okay. After all the giggle-dee-hee and the previous checkpoints. Coming up on the end of 2,000 meters. These big screens with the we call them battling orbs because you touch them and battling your other self with the purple hair launches you upwards. Those are the last screens in each checkpoint, except for 3K, I get for 3,000 meters, where she shows up regularly.
Oh yeah.
More on that later. There's a bunch of hard stuff in 2,500 meters, as Cole mentioned earlier. Hard strats everywhere, and like almost all the hard strats in any percent are also in ARB,
Yeah,
but we also have more fun doing other stuff.
we get to skip some rooms, get to do some new ones.
This skip right here, where we go up and get the key like that instead of riding a bubble, is intended by the devs. It was not intended to be able to do that on the berry side, which is why he comes down. It is possible to do it.
It's possible, but it is so dumb to set up.
Yeah, it's one of those things you call like pseudo RTA viable. Like some people have made it work and had it pay off in full game runs, but it is not consistent enough what you do, and it's not something you can like say, oh, I failed it once, I'll get it on the second try. Like you can sit there and just eat garbage for 20 seconds there, and it only saves like 2 seconds in the first place.
To put it in perspective, like I think Nero X2, he used a visual cue which used Madeline's sweat, I think, in where you would check like what she was like the pixels, and then you would like do it based off that pixels. So that's not viable anymore. But anyway, okay, onto these last two berries. These are really cool. Just going up here.
And there's a lot of running around in these 2,500 meter rooms, making an X travel pattern where it should be a straight line. That's kind of ARB in a nutshell, but that's why we love it, I guess. So this is the last checkpoint of Summit, 3,000 meters, where he's past the repeat mechanics of the previous levels, and it's just, well, I guess it's not anything new. It's, you know, spikes and dashing and clouds and stuff like that, but aesthetically, it's different. The music gets different. It's really nerve-wracking when you get to this point, EV pace, because this is another checkpoint where it's really easy to lose colossal amounts of time. Oh, he does the Reg. Shoutouts to Reg.
Shoutouts to Reg
for popularizing that strat recently. Not found it, but he did popularize it. It's a funny little swag strat. It only saves like 0.1. Okay, so that was what we called downdraft, because there was downwind that kind of makes it so there's heavier gravity. And this section is updraft, where it's the opposite effect. The wind's going up, and Madeline is lighter in general. Her upwards momentum is more easily conserved.
Compared to this section, or compared to downdraft, this...
I don't know who found that demo, but shoutouts to Oddbod, I guess. Okay, calm down, dude.
This section, its berries are more front-loaded, while downdraft has its berries more spread out, so you'll pretty much see more like an any percent updraft at this point. Because the last berry is in flag 4, which is a bit later.
Yeah, the fourth to last flag. These flags, they serve as checkpoints, and they also count down till the end of the level, pretty much. If you see them don't collect, that means he didn't get the checkpoint. So if he had not collected flag 9 there, he would have just lost like 25 seconds or something.
Okay, saw him not collect flag 10.
He didn't get flag 10, yeah, so he would have lost a lot. He would have lost more than 10. Probably not 20 though. But yeah, coming up on the end of Summit, it's looking like a decent run so far. He can sub 50 for sure.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which would be a good run. We timed this game with in-game time because it just makes the most sense for Celeste for a variety of reasons that there's probably no purpose to going into right now. So that's why, like, the estimated time you'll see is an hour, because that's for real time, that's for the sake of the marathon. But his in-game time for like an hour-long run would be like 55 minutes, I think. So if he gets a 49, he should save a fair chunk of time on his estimate, which would be nice. I can't believe this is like a 12:10. 12:09.
Yeah.
I can't believe that was a 12:09.
You saw what happened in 500.
Yeah,
we just accept that we're gonna lose time anyway, and it's still fine.
Hilarious. That's really okay. Well, as nerve-wracking as that level is, you'll notice we got 170 berries out of 170.
It's not time. It's not time. One more level.
And we got core, which is like the final chokehold, where there's one insanely like category defining strat towards the beginning, and
Shit,
one or
so
two
well there.
kind of awkward rooms shortly after that, and the rest of it is just like mostly easy. You just, you know, don't choke, don't choke, don't choke, don't choke, don't choke.
Yeah.
Anyway, this big thing that we're talking about, we call it ice skip, because normally you would have to turn the level into like an ice theme, where these fireballs would turn into snowballs or jellyfish looking things. I used to call them jellyfish, but now there's actually jellyfish, so thanks, Matt. But here it comes right here. He's going to use this lava block, get a crap ton of momentum, corner boost here, ultra dash here, grab the wall, jump, get the berry, and he nails it on the first try.
Let's go.
That trick is
Nice.
both as hard as it looks and also not that hard at all.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot easier than it looks probably, but it can be really finicky. It's one of those strats where you need a lot of, because there's a lot of adjustments you can make like on the fly
Yeah.
based off of like your speed and how you launch off the block and how you hit the wall. It's a real like experience like driven strat. Once you've been running this category for as long as buhbai has, it's not.
Yeah, you can
too
just adjust
concerning.
it almost anything.
That's the other scary room right there. That room with that
Oh, yeah,
berry.
172.
Yeah, we call that 172 because it's the 172nd berry.
Yeah. Those bumpers can be real meanie.
This looks really good so far.
Yeah.
Actually, if buhbai has a really good core, this can be a 40.
It could be like a 48, like 59.
Yeah, that's if it's a really
It'd
good
be
core.
pretty epic.
That would be amazing if he pulled out a 40. But I know he won't be upset with a 49, which he's. I'm just gonna say commentators curse whatever. He's pretty much guaranteed it.
Yeah.
That's how confident.
Almost everything hard is done.
Yeah.
It's just don't choke. And he's hopefully been trained long enough to just not choke anymore.
Forgot to do his new strat. Let's save 2 frames. What are you doing, man?
That'll cost him. That'll actually cost him the 48 guys, not like this. Holy
He's gonna get a 49.00.025. That's probably not even a real frame. But yeah, it's deathless. I skip on the first try, 172 on the first try.
You'll
This is
still
looking
see,
good.
even like without dash. Wait, do we explain that? We don't get a dash back.
Oh, not for core, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we get our dash back, but the one thing we don't get our dash back from is
Yeah.
we have to get them back from like dash crystals. Is that it? Or room transitions
Yeah.
and dash crystals. Everything else, you do not get your dash back.
So I was gonna say, like, even though we don't have like the option to like use our dash, like whenever we touch the ground, we still have these really optimized screens where we just skip or just bunny hop like in prologue, or just
Right,
try to
yeah.
skip as many cycles as we can.
This level, people don't like this level, and I think if people gave it more of a chance, they would like it. I think this level's really fun and also like not that difficult.
Yeah.
Like berry or non-berry. And I think most
Well-
people who give it like an honest effort end up liking it.
It's just
So if you've
lava
only
blocks are
played
kind
the
of bad on first impression.
Yeah, well, there aren't too many crazy lava blocks in this level, and 8Bs
Yeah.
are stupid lava blocks.
Oh, AP is that's different. But
man,
okay.
well-
now we're at the cassette room. Oh.
That's sad. I don't know if this was 48 caliber or not.
It
That
was
plays
definitely
it
funny.
anymore.
He entered like, I think he needed 32 seconds between this room and the heart room, which would have been doable. But it's alright.
Oh yeah, he
Still-
definitely would have. He's like a couple
Yeah.
seconds off. That core was insane.
Yeah.
That might have been like a world record core. Until that. That's okay though.
It's alright. He's shown such a good showing
Yeah,
of our.
that was really good.
Really proud
that
of
was
him
a
for this one.
412.
Holy!
Well played, Bubba.
You gotta give it up for that one.
You can
GG.
clap for that.
Really good run for
Yeah,
buhbai.
GG. You're welcome, dude.
You're welcome. Good shit.
Yeah, that was. That was a. Oh, dude, that run was great. That run was a trip.
fine.
48 deaths. The dream. Dude, go retry. Go retry in the epilogue. 49 deaths, 49 minutes. Time, by the way. Whoops. That was a
That was our.
that was a good showing.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
rough. That's honestly kind of hilarious that you got a 49.03
4.
or 4 with that reprieve and that 500 meters.